hi to you on the other side of the screen. We welcome you. My name is Kaidi. I'm the Strategy Director for the Estonian Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications. I'm so happy to share with you the Estonia's plan for the next, or this decade, and what we are planning to do in terms of digitalization and innovation. We created Digital Agenda 2030 for Estonia. It took a couple of years to set it into stone, so to speak, and we just finalized it last year. I will go through a couple of topics and point out kind of the most interesting and fascinating things that we're planning on doing in the upcoming years. There's also, of course, a lot in there that I will not be able to cover in 15 minutes. So feel free to find it online and go through it and read it yourself. It's a pretty decent document with a lot of topics in there. But what is the vision for the next decade for Estonia? What are we planning on doing? We do have a great experience of 2-3 decades of digitalization here in Estonia. We've done a lot, but there's always room to build another story on this building and keep on going. So what the vision is? The vision for Estonia is that we're full of digital power. So that means that our main goal is to make life as convenient and comfortable for every person inside Estonia or dealing with Estonia as possible. So that means our life is powered by digitalization. It is easy to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it. We try and want to empower people by valuing every person and their contribution to co-creation. We want to make sure we have fertile foundation so we can create and test out and try new future solutions here in Estonia. If you write something down in an agenda, it's probably not that new anymore. Our goal, our aim is to make sure that we've thought of ways to make sure that any innovation that comes our way, any opportunity out there that comes our way in the upcoming years, that we're prepared for it. When we talk about our laws, when we talk about our technology, our people, knowledge, and so on. So our kind of the agenda's goal is to plan ahead and make sure that we're open to all of that innovation. It's important when we talk about innovation to make sure that we are always protected and our people feel safe in the digital world as well. And anyone communicating with Estonia feels safe and trusts that the information they share is protected. Also, a big part of digitalization is making sure our economy is powerful and takes full advantage of the possibilities we can offer. Our digital agenda kind of lies on 6 principles. So whatever we do, whatever we plan, it should always follow those 6 principles. That we always and foremost protect people's rights. Basic rights coming from our constitution, rights when it comes to data exchange, and so on. We want to cherish Estonian culture and language. Anything digital is basically in English nowadays, but we also want to make sure that everyone who speaks Estonian can access those services in Estonian as well. As I said, it's important for us to maintain our trustworthiness, that when we build things, we build them technology neutral. We build digital society together when we talk about private sector, when we talk about different interest groups, and so on. And we keep being innovative. So what does it mean? In the digital agenda, there are 3 main topics that I will cover now. The biggest and kind of the most substantial in the digital agenda is what has to do with digital government. So how we build for the next decade our government and how we structure and what the innovation there is. It's a very big block of ideas. So I will only share with you here, because we have a limited amount of time, I will only share the kind of 4 very big leaps in the development of digital government. But there's also a lot in the background that has to happen, and that's everything on the slide on the right-hand side, that has to happen in order for that innovation and that leap of a development to happen. But the 4 kind of really big things that we're talking about when we talk about digital government in this upcoming decade is life-based and proactive services. Now, I'm a big fan of this. Governments have been building public services very differently, and it was very common, and it still is very common, that people have to know where they have to go if they want a service, if they want to get in touch with the government or local government, if they want to apply for something, they have to know which government agency to talk to or where to go and apply for it. Now, this next step from it would be kind of this one-stop shop idea, that where we gather all the public services into one place, and then a person goes to that place and gets a lot of the services from one place. That's kind of the next step. What we want to do is completely skip that step and go straight to no-stop shop. So where there are no shops to go to, no agencies you have to go to, but all of the public services come to you when you need them. So when you're, for example, getting married and need to change your name, as soon as you get married, the state kind of puts in motion all of that needs to happen for you now that you're married, when it comes to changing your name or any other legal formalities that need to take place. And the government will inform you what you have to do next, when you have to do it, and it's made as easy for you as possible by maybe just one click of a button. So proactive services and life-based services is a very different, fundamentally different way of looking at how public sector offers its services to the citizen. And it also opens up a lot of the resource from the public sector to put those people who would, on a regular day, maybe accept your application, instead of just doing that bureaucratic job, they would have more time to actually go into depth of your maybe different questions, or be available for you on a more fundamental and helpful way. Now, the second big topic is AI-powered government. And what does that mean? There is so much AI can do in the public sector as well. Private sector has been really wonderful at testing out AI. I think public sector has the big role of being courageous enough to trying and testing out AI-powered solutions as well. Estonia is doing that. For example, we just released real-time subtitling in television channels in Estonia, so you don't have to wait for the subtitles and watch your favorite live show day later or 2 days later, wait for the subtitles. You can watch Eurovision Song Contest live with your own native language subtitles in real life, for example. But there are so many wonderful solutions in AI that we can talk about endlessly. Human-centric data development, what we mean there is that Estonia has been really good at sharing data in the public sector. We've shared data across different agencies. We've implemented the once-only principle. But the next leap would be sharing that data with the private sector. So, for example, if I go and see a private doctor, they would get easy access, with my permission, of course, to my public health records as well, so they can offer me better service. Things like that really require wonderful cooperation between public and private sector, which in Estonia's case, I have a lot of faith in. And the last topic, when it comes to digital government, that's really kind of a leap and a future topic, is green digital government. Now, green digital government is, the green topics are around there, and so many different ways of talking about greening. But what we mean here is not how to use ICT to make other things more green, but how to make ICT itself more green, how to reduce the footprint of ICT itself. And Estonia is a very digital country, how to reduce the footprint we're making with our digital solutions, with the technology, with servers, and so on. So it's kind of a very near future, but still a future topic that Estonia would love to be a leader in. And then, as I said, on the right-hand side on that slide, you can see a lot of that background that needs to happen in order for us to take that next leap when we talk about proactive services or data development or so on. There are two more topics, big topics in the Digital Agenda 2030 of Estonia. There's connectivity. So in order to offer all of this wonderful in-depth solutions, you need to actually have internet. You need to have the connection to use those services and to offer those services. So it is important to keep connectivity up to date when we talk about the network throughout Estonia, when we're talking about 5G in the future, 6G base network across Estonia. Big challenge for Estonia is to make sure that we have excellent connectivity in our main roads and main pathways for logistics, for example, and transportation. And what may be the future new business services that may arise from the next level connectivity. And the third topic that we cover in the digital agenda is cybersecurity. So what we can say for sure is that the cyber threats continue, the amount of cyber threats and cyber attacks will continue to rise, and their complexity will continue to rise. So our main job is here to make sure that we're up to date when it comes to legal parts, when it comes to the content of cybersecurity, our people, our skills, and so on. I'm not going to go very deep into the metrics or how do we make sure that we're actually achieving this. There are a couple of metrics in the agenda. The main thing is we want to keep our people happy. So the satisfaction of with the public services, e-services Estonia offers has to rise to a whole nother level. Of course, the connectivity has to be good, and the trustworthiness that Estonian people have towards our e-services has to remain as high as it has been so far, which is one of our strengths, that our Estonian people really trust what the government offers them. So there are many hot topics. Some of them I've covered, proactive services, along with them cross-border services. So making sure our digital state and digital country goes cross-border more. So people dealing with Estonia or Estonian locals themselves have access to the most comfortable services, even when they're not in Estonia. I talked about data ownership and, of course, cloud. You can't go anywhere without talking about the future and how we're going to move to the cloud, Estonian government as well. AI, green ICT, data embassy. Now, data embassy is a hot topic as well. We're no longer talking about countries with physical borders. We're talking about our data as well. And if needed, Estonia's data main databases are in our data embassy in Luxembourg, so the Estonian state can continue on functioning even if physically we're not able to be in Estonia. I talked about very fast internet across Estonia and cybersecurity. There are a couple of challenges we're facing like any other country, like any other digital country. Maintenance, upkeep, and financing of the country. It takes constant attention. Like anyone, we're facing a challenge finding ICT specialists and maintaining our e-literacy among our people as well. Legal issues, making sure that legal keeps up to date and is very fast in keeping up to date with all of the innovation we want to take place. ICT use in private sector, the challenge about talking about opting in or opting out of the digital state. It's always a conversation and it continues to be a conversation. And I talked about cyber attacks as well. So there are a lot of topics that the agenda covers, and there's a lot of ambition for this decade for Estonia to take the e-country and e-government to the next level. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm open to questions if we have time for them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Kaidi-Kerli Kärner, for introducing the Estonia's Digital Agenda 2030. Before we move on, yes, indeed, I do have some questions, if I may. Living in a world where technology is in rapid change, how easy is it to draft an agenda that needs to serve you for 8 years?
It's a good question. We had this discussion. How can we write a long-term agenda in a field that changes every day? And there are super solutions that really kind of fundamentally change how we do things coming up every year. That's why we didn't really write in the agenda any kind of specific new thing that we'd want to do, but it's more of what can the state do and make sure that if the really wonderful idea comes along, that we're ready for it, that our legal system doesn't stop it or is really willing really fast to move along with it, that we have the great data to offer to any private sector, for example. If they want to offer a great solution, that we can offer our data, of course, securely for usage and so on. So it's more about how we can prepare ourselves as a country to be very agile to any future solutions that come our way.
Have a vision and not describe the tasks. Very
Exactly.
clever. Can you paint us a picture? So if we are going to achieve all the objectives described in this digital agenda, in which Estonia we will live in 2030?
I thought about it quite a lot, and I have to say what I want to see in 2030 is people having a quality relationship with the state, instead of you taking a piece of paper or a digital paper to a government agency saying you want something or need something. The government state already knows what you might need, is there to help you, and has the time to actually go into depth what you need, because all the bureaucracy happens basically behind doors, and you don't have to deal with it, you don't have to see it. You can be just a person who wants to do something, start a business and so on, and it's as convenient as possible for you. So you don't spend time doing bureaucratic things, and you have access to that anywhere you are in Estonia. And you feel always protected, and that your data is protected. I think that's very important as well.
Many of these things you just described already seem to me like the reality. Maybe we are living in the future already in Estonia. Thank you so much, Kaidi-Kerli Kärner, for sharing this digital agenda with us.